Hey there, lovebirds. I'm Attorney Richard Herman. I'm your neighborhood immigration lawyer. And today I'm going to share with you my top tips for documenting your bona fide marriage or romantic relationship for your K-1 fiancé visa or your I-130 marriage petition that you'll be filing with U.S. Immigration Service. So grab your popcorn, cuddle up with your partner, and let's dive in. Before I outline my top tips on proving a real relationship, a few words on how to interact with U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Service, or USCIS. My motto, get in, get out. You don't want to play footsie with the federal government. They're a mess, they're chaotic, they're disorganized, they're grossly underfunded and understaffed. Immigration is not really a priority for the U.S. government. As a matter of fact, U.S. immigration is largely funded by filing fees, not by taxpayer dollars. It's not that the officers are evil, although some are, but they make mistakes. They think a marriage is fake when it's actually real. They lose files. They can be rude. They can even try to set you up. So with that in mind, I think it's really important that you document everything thoroughly. Never stop collecting documents of your relationship throughout your whole immigration process, which could go on for several years, from the point of getting a visa or green card all the way to citizenship. Just remember, keep supplementing your file, keep collecting documents, rinse and repeat. Do not play footsie with the government. All right then, let's move on to our top tips for documenting your relationship. We want to tell the story of your relationship in a very creative, comprehensive way so that your case kind of stands out. You know, immigration gets thousands, tens of thousands of files every day. Let's tell them who you guys are. Let's give them some context. I want them to feel like they were able to get to know you a little bit, so that before you walk into that interview room, the officer kind of already knows who you are, kind of already likes you, and is kind of already predisposed towards approving the case. If they don't know anything about you guys, then the interview is more of a fishing expedition, and we don't like fishing expeditions. Again, we want to get in and we want to get out. All right, tip number one. Write a brief narrative of the history of your relationship. Now, I know many of you are saying, Richard, I'm not a writer. You don't have to be Dostoevsky or Pushkin. Just write down maybe a page or a page and a half of the history. How did you meet? What are your common interests? Hey, we both love hiking. We both love Star Trek movies. Talk about some of the highlights. Have you traveled together in different places? Have you encountered tragedies together that you've shared in your families? Talk about that. Talk about your hopes for the future. I think that narrative kind of helps center the story so that the immigration officer says, yeah, that makes sense to me. These two people fit together, and I understand who they are and what their relationship is about. Tip number two, children. Many of you won't have children yet, and hopefully you will in the future. But if you do have kids, I like to look at them as Exhibit A and Exhibit B. You like a thing one or thing two with the kids. So make sure you include in your file proof of the children's birth certificates, school or medical records listing the parent or step-parent, photos with the children. Tip number three, do you live together? That's probably one of the most important things that immigration looks at. Proving cohabitation is essential. Keep in mind, there is a lot of marriage fraud out there, and people that are committing marriage fraud, which is a felony, they create bogus documents like lease agreements and bills and things like that. So don't just rely on your standard stuff, but make sure you have a lease agreement or a deed with your names on it if you can. In addition to leases, bills with your names on it. If not both of your names on that bill, then separate bills with your names on each one separately. That would work too. Your driver's licenses, they have the same address. Is mail coming to the house showing that you live together? Tip number four, joint financial. Do you guys have joint financial things together, like joint assets, joint debt? Financial intermingling, it sounds fancy, right? But it's more than just sharing your Netflix passwords. It's usually things like joint bank accounts, shared credit cards, or even a Costco membership. These all scream, we're in this together. Don't be afraid to collect this stuff, joint tax returns, joint life insurance policies, put that into the file together. And as you grow your life together, put yourselves on each other's accounts. Even if you're like at Costco and you guys have a joint Costco account, nothing shows a real relationship like, hey, we shop together, we buy our stuff together. Next tip, written communication between you and your partner, either on text, WhatsApp, email, or even publicly on social media. Communication is key. This doesn't have to be like a Shakespearean sonnet where you're professing your undying love to each other. It could be stupid things like, who's gonna pick up pizza on the way home from work? It could even be about an argument or a dispute. Real couples have arguments. Feel free, don't give them 1,000 pages of text messages and you're printing up all these screenshots, but you can print up samplings of that, of social media, emails, and then put that in the file. Next tip. Obviously, one of the strongest things that immigration loves to see are photographs. They say a picture's worth 1,000 words. It's true. Don't give them 1,000 photos, though, and put them in an envelope and say, here, you guys go through them and figure out what's in there. Remember, you're dealing with government bureaucrats. They don't have a lot of time. They don't have a lot of patience, and you need to help them digest large volumes of information quickly, like feeding a baby. Baby spoons. So the best way to do that is maybe print out 30 photos over the course of your relationship, from the beginning, middle to end. Put 2 photos onto a page at a time, 8.5 by 11 page. You have 2 photos there. Next to each photo, write annotations. Who's in the photo? It could be family and friends and you guys. Where was it taken? When was it taken? What are we celebrating? The other people in the photo, what's their relationship to you? This is Uncle Joe having too many beers again on the 4th of July picnic and sleeping it off. So give it some context. They love that stuff. Take pictures of you and your cat and your dog and going on hikes and doing things. They love that stuff. It humanizes the file. Also, make sure if you can, if those photos can have dates imprinted on there, that would be great. Timestamps are really, really cool. Again, if they're kind of funny and whimsical, the officer kind of sees you guys in your natural environment. Next tip. Joint travel, very, very important. Many of us are working all the time, we may not have the resources for traveling. It doesn't have to be elaborate. It doesn't have to be Aruba or Rome. It could be Akron, Ohio. Hey, if you're getting in a car and you're gonna go take an hour trip or 2-hour trip, that's special. Document that a little bit. If you're going farther, you're gonna get a hotel reservation or an airplane ticket, document that. Put that in your statement when you talk about your history. Hey, we went to New York City together. We went to LA, we did this thing, you went to a concert. Another tip that we recommend you gather is detailed affidavits from people that know you as a couple. Hey, I know Mary and Joe are a real couple because we spent Christmas together with them. You know, we went to their house for this holiday. We went canoeing down the Cuyahoga River last summer together. They should be a little bit detailed. Like, they shouldn't be just generic, like, I know they're real, it's a real couple. How do they know it's real? Give us some stories of some encounters that they've had together. Some people put together a scrapbook. Sounds kind of hokey, but not a bad idea, particularly for the interview. Officers like to go through that, and it gives you an opportunity to be creative. Put ticket stubs, postcards, little mementos of your adventures together. That's not a bad idea. Another tip that I wanted to talk about was, what about when you have a special situation? Like, for example, you don't live together, but you're married. Which happens, right? Hey, I got a job in Chicago, my spouse is in Miami. I can't move to Miami now. I've got 2 more months with my job in Chicago. That's okay. Always tell the truth to immigration. Don't hide that, but just explain it. Hey, I got a job there, it's gonna end in 2 or 3 months. After that time, I'm moving down to Miami. And I'm looking for a job now in Miami. And here are my job postings or my job interviews down in Miami. You could show I'm traveling to Miami every weekend to see my spouse. Or she's coming to see me in Chicago and we got plane tickets and photos and that kind of thing. So yeah, the other thing is I really think it's important to humanize the file, not just you guys as a couple, but individually. Who are you? I'll give you an example. I had one couple that met through rabbit judging competitions. The rabbit, you bring the rabbit in and they hop around and they get judged. Well, one guy had the rabbit and he ended up dating the rabbit judge. And they got married. That's a great story. It's almost like TV. Well, I said, listen, you got to bring those photos of your rabbits and all that to the interview. And of course, what did we talk about during the interview with the immigration officer? Rabbits. They loved it. It was a great story. It breaks up the monotony of the day, and it was interesting, and it was real. Not a bad idea to include in the file your copies of your degrees or diplomas or certifications, references from your church or your temple about you as having good moral character, special talents that you have as an artist or an athlete. Throw that in there. Why? Because it's a file. The officer might connect with something. Oh, you're a soccer player. I am too. Oh, you love cats. I love cats. And we start talking about that, and it's a connection. There's psychology in everything, and if the officer is connecting to us as beings, it's much harder for them to be aggressive and to really go after it. So we want them to be relaxed, we want them to like us, and we want, above all, want them to believe that we're telling the truth. So bottom line, guys, don't forget to have fun with this. Don't let it stress you out. Dealing with immigration can be stressful, but your love for each other, celebrating your relationship, that's all good, right? So go have at it, document everything. Good luck telling your love story to immigration. I wish everybody well. If you do have any questions, feel free to give us a call at the Herman Legal Group, and we will be glad to give you guys some help. Bye-bye.